week 11 of the fantasy basketball season, and here's a few guards I would look to buy low or trade for this week. The first guy is Bledsoe, and the New Orleans Pelicans. So Bledsoe on the season, he's ranked 198, 12.7 points a game, 3.5 rebounds, 3.6 assists a game, 2 threes a game, 3% from the field, and only 64% from the foul line. But the last couple weeks, Bledsoe, he's improved his numbers, and he's playing better right now. 12.4 points a game, 3.5 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 1.4 threes for Bledsoe, 45% from the field, and 64% from the line. So Bledsoe, he's been up and down this season. And like I say a lot about this Pelican team, they got a lot of guards on their roster with Bledsoe, obviously, Lonzo Ball, you got Neil Walker-Alexander, you got Josh Hart, so you got a lot of guys over there in New Orleans, and I think one of them gets traded by the March 25th NBA trade deadline or even earlier, which is 3 weeks away now. And the last couple games, though, Bledsoe, he's been pretty solid. February 25th versus former team at the Bucks, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, 4 three-pointers. February 27th at the San Antonio Spurs, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, a block and a turnover, and 2 threes. And then March 1st versus the Utah Jazz, 11 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals with a 3. So Bledsoe, he's scoring the basketball. He's hitting his 3-point shot, which has been an issue the last few seasons for him. But right now, I still think you could get him on a discount. And he's a player I could definitely see break out if he gets traded at the deadline to a good landing spot as well. So go out there and try to get Bledsoe at a reasonable price. The second guard is Victor Oladipo of the Houston Rockets, and I don't know if Oladipo will be a Rocket for much longer. He's another guy that definitely can be traded once again here before the March 25th NBA trade deadline, like Eric Bledsoe. And Oladipo, we saw him get traded in the 14 trade with James Harden going to Brooklyn and Depot here going to Houston. And on the season, Oladipo, he's ranked 136 with 19.4 points a game, 5.1 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1.5 steals, 2.4 threes a game, 74% from the foul line, and a bad field goal percentage at 40%. The last couple weeks, though, the few games that he has played, he's averaged 21.3 points a game, 4.7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2.3 steals, 2.3 threes, 40% from the field, and 77% from the foul line. So Oladipo, he's putting up pretty good numbers this season, but he don't play back-to-backs. The Rockets offered him a 2-year deal, according to sources, for $45 million, but I don't think he's going to take it, what the reports have read, and he might get traded at the deadline to either the Miami Heat or the New York Knicks, supposedly, are the two teams interested in trading for Victor Oladipo, and he obviously wants to land in Miami. So the last 3 games he's played, February 24th at Cleveland, 17 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. February 26th at Toronto, 27 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 4 threes. Then he missed the February 28th game versus Memphis. And then March 1st versus Cleveland, 20 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, a block, and 2 threes. So Depot, we know he's a score-first type of guard, but he's a player, I think, that could do a little more as well. He's a decent rebounder at 5 a game. He could pass the ball, and I think he just don't want to be in Houston, and he's hoping to get traded sooner than later here, and he might be excited to go somewhere else like in New York or Miami. But I think you could still buy him on the pretty cheap this week with him missing ball games and him being up and down as the weeks go on with inconsistency. The next guard's Mike Conley of the Utah Jazz. So Conley, he got off to a great start early in the season, but the numbers, they've tipped off just a bit for him. On the season, he's ranked 64th in fantasy basketball, 16 points a game, 3.5 rebounds, 5.8 assists, 1.5 steals, 2.8 threes a game, 82% from the foul line, and 44% from the field for Mike Conley. In the last couple weeks, the numbers, like I said, they have dropped to 13.8 points a game, 3 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 2.8 threes a game he's still hitting, 2 steals, 87% from the foul line, and only 40% from the field. So Mike Conley, we know he's a good passer. We know he could score the basketball. And this season, he's really hitting the 3 ball and fitting well with this Utah Jazz team. That's the best team in the Western Conference this season, even though the last couple games now, they've lost 2 out of 3 after winning like 18 out of 20 or something. But anyway, Mike Conley, he's up there in age. Obviously, he's going to miss some games here and there, but he's still a solid guard to have on your team. And I don't think you got to pay a big price to get him. His last 3 games, February 24th versus the Lakers, 14 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, and 4 threes. February 26th at Miami, 14 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 2 threes. And then March 1st at New Orleans, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, and 2 threes. So like I said, he's hitting the 3 ball. His points per game have definitely gone down over the last 2 weeks here about. And the assists, though, they're still pretty solid. But like I said, I don't think you got to trade a lot to get Conley. And he's definitely a good player to have on your fantasy roster. The next player is John Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies. So John Morant, he's been struggling most of the season, in my opinion. He's not putting up the eye-popping numbers like he did last season. Or maybe he's not 100% from that high ankle sprain he suffered early in the season. But Morant, this is the 3rd or 4th time this season he's been on the buy low list and videos on the season. He's ranked 123 with 19.1 points a game, 3.2 boards, 7.8 assists, 1 steal a game, 0.83, 78% from the foul line, and a mediocre 45% from the field for Morant. And the last couple weeks, his numbers have pretty much been the same: 19.4 a game, 4.5 rebounds, 7.4 assists, 1.4 steals, 77% from the foul line, and 43% from the field. So Ja Morant, the thing with him is he don't really have a jump shot is the problem. And now, last couple games, he's been up and down in his last 3. February 26th versus the Clippers, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 threes. February 28th at Houston, 6 points, 1 rebound, 7 assists, 3 steals. And then last night, he finally broke out. But maybe owners are looking to sell him off high. But I still think you could get him on the low because he's been putting up mediocre games the last 2 weeks here about. But he had 35 points, 5 rebounds, 10 assists, a steal, and 2 threes at Washington. But Washington is one of the worst defenses in the league. I'm not taking credit away from Morant, but I'm just saying that game was inflated, his stats a little, with the defense he was versing. So I still think you could get Morant at a lower price than you did earlier in the season, where he was drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round of most fantasy drafts. And right now, he's not really putting up those numbers. He was more impressive in his rookie year, I believe, with bigger games. But he's just got to get a jump shot going. And the 5th and final guard I would look to buy low or trade for this week is Josh Jackson, the Detroit Pistons. So Jackson here, he was a hot waiver wire pickup, but he's a player that fills the stat sheet. And like I've mentioned early in the week, he's a player also that was a lottery pick. Even though this is his 3rd team in as many years now on the season, he's ranked 239 with 13.5 points a game, 4.4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.3 threes a game, 69% from the foul line, 42% from the field for Jackson. And the last couple weeks, his rankings 209 with 17 a game, 4.3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.3 steals, 66% from the foul line, and 44% from the field for Jackson. So Jackson, he's going to play big minutes now, anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes per ball game, especially now with Blake Griffin going to be traded or bought out. But either way, Blake Griffin ain't playing. Killian Hayes is hurt, so a lot of injuries over there in Detroit with Hayes and DeLon Wright out as well. And he's going to get every opportunity. And he's got some good matchups coming up here in the next couple games at Toronto tonight, and then versus the New York Knicks tomorrow night for Josh Jackson. So Jackson, those are good matchups, and I think he could take advantage of them. And his last 3 games, he's filled up the stat sheet. February 24th at New Orleans, 25 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists for Jackson. February 26th versus the Kings, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals, 2 blocks. And then February 28th versus the Knicks, 12 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. So he's getting you the categories. He's hitting his shots, and he's doing a decent job. But I don't think owners, if they even have him, because he's only owned in 50% of leagues, will even think about getting much for him. So I think he's a player you could definitely get on the low, and a player that can help your fantasy team make the playoffs or just make it better overall. So that's a few guards I would look to buy low or trade for here in Week 11 of the fantasy basketball season.